It's so cool to see people with such massive talent willing to share it. Yeah? I have a talent for turning this thing on and then turning it right back off. There are so many good things to seize and appreciate and really savor in this season, yes? One of the fun things that I have learned in my time as a minister here, because we practice inclusivity as one of our 4 primary values, I have gotten to learn about other people's holidays, other people's what they hold sacred, how they hold it sacred, what their spiritual practices are. And all of these things kind of add up into this massive toolbox of ways that I can get myself out of the dark times and move back into the light when I need to. December's especially fun because in the Northern Hemisphere, so many of us have a holiday at the darkest time of year. Now, if we were in Australia right now, we would probably have our bathing suits on under our clothes so we could go straight to the beach after this. Maybe that was just my family. But here in the Northern Hemisphere, this is when we look at how do we come together when things are tough, and how do we come together as a community? How can we support one another? And so we have in this corner of the what I call an altar, some people call it a platform, we have the menorah, which is one of the Jewish ways of celebrating the light in spite of the darkness. And because it's a community celebration, everybody's energy kind of comes together and makes a great big light. We also have a Christmas tree, wonderful pagan ceremonies around this tree. The tree is actually about as pagan as Easter eggs. And for those of you who don't know, Easter is actually the name of a goddess. We have the star that is one of the earliest names of most of the goddesses, had some connection to stars. They were far away, but they were shining bright in the darkness. We have the Buddha, who on December 8th, we celebrated Rohatsu. Now, when I think celebrate, I think, yay, cookies, or, an excuse to kind of be silly and fun and give gifts. Rohatsu actually is celebrated by 12-hour meditations. The longest I've ever made was 3 hours, and that was with breaks. So I celebrate the fact that some people can hold that pose, or any pose, for 12 hours. I can do side sleeping for 12 hours. And that has the pranic breathing involved that other people call snoring. But just in this one little corner, just in the blue and white of this, the blue and silver, blue being a very spiritual color, often used to represent the sky and that which is in the heavens. Just in that one little corner, we've gone all the way around the world. Now, these are also universal and very personal. I think it was last year we created these, and we talked about, there's a dove on the front, and the dove for me stands for peace. And on the back of them, we wrote where we needed peace. So this one says, in our souls. There's another one that says, peace on earth. This one says, in our country. This one just says, shalom in the home. Where else could we use some peace these days? Just go ahead and shout it out. I'll repeat it so it's into the mic. I-17. In the bagelist parts of the country. I heard everywhere. Congress. Walmart. How about Costco? Costco is the best place to do your spiritual practice. Man, if you can manifest a parking place there, I'll make you a practitioner tomorrow. CSL home office won't, but I will. In the Mideast, absolutely. In our hearts and ourselves. I'm sorry? I heard judgment. I'm peace in our judging hearts, maybe, because that will get rid of the judgment. We can do discernment, though. Discernment is kind of like knowing that, for me, vanilla ice cream works better than chocolate. Peace for homeless pets. So we need peace, and then, with that kind of peace comes abundance. And so no one's homeless. Peace in the home means that someone valued is living in it. So there is a deep practice that we do in religious science, which is taking a look at what we believe to be true and expanding on it, checking it out to see if we actually believe it when we hear ourselves say it out loud. Think about things you've said out loud and then went, wait, why is my grandmother speaking through my mouth today? I don't actually believe that. I'm just used to saying it. There's an old story, it's gotten recycled many times throughout the internet, about a woman who was making her grandmother's, actually great-grandmother's, pot roast recipe. And it always starts with cut off the 3 inches on this side. And this is the way they've made it for years and years. What she doesn't know why, she doesn't know, shh, don't give it away. She doesn't know why she's doing it. She goes to her mother. Her mother doesn't know why. The grandmother doesn't know why. So they troop down to visit the great-grandmother, who says, oh, that's easy. My pan was too small. Had nothing to do with the quality of the meal. Sometimes we do things without knowing why, and once we find out the reason why, we're like, I'm never doing that again. That's like a whole nother meal right there in that piece I cut off. So some of our traditions here we do consciously because they're fun or because they work. Others we take a look at and like, not going to do that. When I was growing up, we went to Mass on Christmas. I don't do that anymore. Christmas Eve services at midnight are still beautiful, but they're not part of my life anymore. They might be this year, come to think of it, because I'll be in New England. But in this center, we don't have a Christmas Day or a Christmas Eve celebration. We take that need for tradition and what it symbolizes, a chance to come together and be together, singing Silent Night, lighting candles, doing all of those things that draw us together. And we do it a week before Christmas. So this Wednesday night, we will be here celebrating several different holidays, creating an inclusive environment where everybody's welcome, whether you've heard of the celebrations, the holidays we're celebrating or not. Perhaps you will learn something new. We have our traditions, we have the things that we do because they make sense to us. Carl Jung said, we need a new myth of God. Now, that doesn't mean Mrs. God. A new myth, M-Y-T-H, means that the things that we have believed about God and the rituals we have used in the past are starting to feel stale, are starting to lose their meaning. And so what we need to do is create a new mythology, a new set of stories and rituals around our new idea of God so that they have meaning again. Meister Eckhart once said that the thing that most gets in the way of our relationship with God is our belief in God. Think about that for a second. What gets in the way of our relationship with God is our belief in God. Our belief in a specific God, the God of our understanding that we inherited from our grandparents and great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents, that which we've just, it's kind of like Santa Claus. Until Coca-Cola did it, nobody knew about Santa Claus. And we think this has been, or kids today think that Santa Claus has always been around in the red coat. What we do now, and in these rooms and with all of these celebrations, is take another look at what do we experience in God, as God. What is our understanding of a supreme being? I had a Jungian psychologist teacher who would not call God anything but being or perhaps presence. Because in his mind, it was arrogant to think that he could define the infinite life by such a little word as God. And he didn't want to put a cage around his idea of God. He wanted room for it to expand. And so sometimes we go through these holidays thinking that, it's supposed to be stressful. There seem to be people who think it's supposed to be stressful. I refer you back to Walmart and Costco. That, as a minister, I am often very focused on the fact that some people are having trouble with the holidays, that this can be a difficult time of year for some people. So, how many people here think that we are likely to be stressed out and unhappy during the holidays? Maybe more so, by a show of hands. More so than at any other time during the year. So there's a gentleman who started an organization called Track Your Happiness. His name's Matt Killingsworth. And he collected data from more than 20,000 people who, by their own report, this is what they were saying, are most likely to be happy on Christmas Day, the happiest time of the year for them. That's not the belief system that's floating around out there. It's not the belief system that many ministers who are trying to be of support to people who have trouble with the holidays remember. But you're allowed to be having fun right now. Did you know that? You're allowed to do whatever you need to do to create a joy-filled holiday for you. And if that means ignoring it completely, go for it. Man, the sales the day after you do absolutely nothing are going to be awesome either way. If you don't celebrate Christmas, okay. If you don't celebrate Hanukkah, okay. If you want to try it on for size, be here Wednesday. It doesn't have to look any certain way. The holiday season doesn't, your understanding of God doesn't, and you do not have to fit an old mold that says you're supposed to look a certain way, you're supposed to have a certain bank account, you're supposed to eat only certain foods. And many, many different faith traditions have food restrictions. So how is it that we begin to take this season and begin a practice of making it joy-filled? It's so easy. Ernest Holmes once wrote, one of the first things to do is to love everybody. If you have not done this, begin to do so at once. That is in our textbooks, ladies and gentlemen. I referred you to page 297 if you're following along at home. 298, actually. He says there's always more good than bad in people, and seeing the good tends to bring it forth. So if you look around this room, can you see the good in people here? If you're here for the first time, I can still see and celebrate the good in you. You have excellent taste in how you spend your Sunday mornings. And since none of you have run away screaming at my sense of humor, you are also very funny. We have so much talent in this community. We have people who are musicians because they have raw talent and they put in the work. If you go out into Sibley Hall, you'll see artwork. You'll see the wreaths that Diane Gazelle made, and they are for sale, by the way. She does those every year. I can't do that, but I can celebrate God as the great artist within Diane. I can celebrate the abundance of this little side gig she's got going that brings joy into people's homes. I can celebrate Kid Minister and all of his new thing. If you just look up Kid Minister on Google, just do yourself the favor. For one thing, he's the only minister I know who only speaks for 1 minute, which is miraculous in and of itself. We have the volunteer appreciation because we want to celebrate the God within the people here. We have these prayer demonstrations because we're celebrating the way God has shown up. God, by whatever definition. I mean, I'm going to start calling it Harry. I don't know. I think I used to call it Dave. For a while, God's name was Dave for me. And it was because it was Jai Guru Dave. And I didn't realize that it was D-E-V, short for Deva. Jai Guru Deva, meaning victory to the great teacher. I was saying Guru Dave, whatever. Next year, we're going to come together and work together out of these journals. By the way, they showed up this week. So the two of you who raced out of here last week with the only other 2 copies we had, we all win. We'll come together and celebrate the good in each other that way. Even while the office is closed and the building is not open for you over the Christmas holidays, over that 2-week span that the office is not open, if your circle wants to meet and you have a key, have at it. Come together, be together in community, celebrate one another. Celebrate the good, celebrate the power, see the beauty in each other. That is the new mythology of the winter holidays for me. That this is a time we come together in the name of love. We come together and we do things, these rituals, the gift buying and the pretty lights and the sending of cards, not because we're all crazy with commercialism, but because this might be the one time I drive home and actually see my neighborhood, rather than just kind of going on autopilot. Anyone do that? Their car knows the way home. They don't need to be there. I'm reaching out to friends I haven't seen since ministerial school because I do the cards. Because it's so much fun to do that. And I would be willing to bet some of you are reaching out and thinking of people that you love that you might not think about constantly throughout the year. They'll come through your head, but now you have an excuse to reach out to them and connect. When we come together and we create that great energy of love, that is the divine at work. That is the light in the darkness that is celebrated in the Northern Hemisphere at this time. And if you're willing to celebrate each other, we have created a whole new way of doing the holidays. Now, one of my favorite and our strongest ways of moving things into being is through prayer. And I pray from down here. For those of you who have not been here before, I always pray from an equal footing as everybody else to remind all of us that just because I have the mic does not mean I have more God. There is a Christ living within each and every one of us. There is a Buddha nature, an enlightened being living within the spacesuit everybody brought in today. So I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. And just sink deeply into your physical body, something that we can celebrate at this time of year. Each and every one of us has one. It's doing a fabulous job of keeping our innards in. And just breathe into your physical expression, whatever it may look like. And become aware with me that this divine being, this presence, this whatever we want to call it, is already here within each and every one of us. I am witness to this presence, this being, this infinite love here and now, remembering that there is a vast web of life energy, a vast web, intricate, three-dimensional, infinite connections. It is all alive and intelligent, and we, each and every one of us, are part of it right now. We are one within it, and we are part of the divine. God, being omnipresent, is fully present in every single cell of our bodies, in every single cell of the person sitting next to you, or in front of or behind you, in every person you will meet on the road today. And so as I stand witness to this truth, this infinite good that we are becomes more fully centered within our minds and our hearts. And as we look for it, we see more and more evidence of it. As we stand witness to the infinite truth and let the old misunderstandings fall away, the presence, life itself, is more and more evident. And for some of us, it shows up as physical health. For some of us, it shows up as financial abundance. For some, it shows up as the joy of a healed relationship. For all of us, it shows up. And so in this moment, I bless all that God is and all that God is becoming and all the different ways we get to experience it in us, through us, and for us already. Knowing that this is already the truth, I just release this word into the law of cause and effect, knowing that we have stated our cause, we have witnessed cause, and so the effect is already assured. Blessing it all, I call it good, and so it is.